Good morning and welcome to today's live show. Looks like that 68% zone we were talking about. We're starting to try to climb back in it, trying to get above that 570, up at 570, almost 571 as of right now for the SPY. We do have weekly expected moves here for you, 577.57 to the upside, and we have 550.39 to the downside with some daily expected moves posted. Remember that we were expecting the weekly expected moves to shrink. They have shrunk just a little bit. That is now 2 weeks in a row where it's shrinking, which means that is adding up to possibly something unexpected starting to take place. Remember that we do have the divergence on the 2-hour, the divergence at the same time on the 30-minute. That is suggesting the daily will cross, and the daily was able to cross on Friday. Not unnecessarily the best bar, still looking for that full follow-through bar if I'm looking long-term on this, but we know that we could run into problems outside of our 68% zone, which is our unexpected area. And that area up there could be where we get to for GDP. So some kind of pullback in that area would make sense. We can see that if the 2-hour, even if we saw that unexpected thing happen, maybe we go up and fill this gap. Remember, 585 is what I'd like to see, but I want to see us maybe dip down and use that monthly expected move as support after that to then curl up into positive territory. I think this would be one of the best ways to continue the squeeze and keep it really, really tight, but allow people to maybe place some bearish bets. So maybe even that is the filling of the gap. Maybe we see this turn down even further to then curl up. But there's always a chance that once you start a squeeze, that it just never comes back, right? If people read into that GDP as good news, even in the unexpected area, we can see this thing rip and roar up to possibly even 595 if that takes place. So just be aware of that happening. I don't think it will be a straight up kind of move just yet. I still want to be aware that this is down here and that the daily scale can turn up for a few days, but then it can start to turn right back down. And if it turns down aggressively, that would get people very, very, very bearish. I'm not leaning towards that, as the monthly expected moves would be violated at that point. This would have to take place more so next week if it was going to, and then we can look at April expected moves. So if you want to join Patreon, I think it's next Monday, right, is the last day of the month. So we have till next Monday to see if we're going to land in this zone. And then we'll be updating those over on Patreon. It's a great time to join over there. Yeah, everything's kind of on right now, isn't it? And Amazon looking good, right? That's the one that I really, really care about. Meta looks good too, though. Like Meta's not bad at all. Starting to get up towards that 617. Looking for this to get up there, but these things are approaching weekly expected moves a little bit quickly. So just be aware of that and know that we are usually attracted to those levels. Now, do you think there's not one signal out there that says we could run into problems today? There is a signal out there that says we could run into problems today. We see that we are retesting the 50 as of right now. We see that the 2-hour is still holding this divergence here for volatility. So be aware that this rip up from the market can be still given away, and we could see some kind of reaction from the 2-hour here. Remember, we were looking for some kind of tag of that 24 reading. We didn't get that necessarily just yet. So if we start to do this, and we see the market start to pull down pretty aggressively, right, this is the area we'll be watching. The 30-minute here will be very helpful to us. Do we hold the divergence that is taking place outside of a daily expected move? Just because we're up here doesn't mean we have to use this as support and go. Now, am I going to sell my calls? Well, most likely if I do see the 30-minute hold all the divergence points on the RSI, hold all the divergence points on the MACD, I will be saying, yeah, I might hold on to that for a brief moment, see if we dip down to lower levels in case we make some kind of quick divergence there to take care of that 550 slot. But that's the only thing I'm really aware of right now. I think a 30-minute crossing down might cause me to have to manage a trade, but then I'm willing to get right back in that. And by manage a trade in this, I might actually mean hold on to some of those longs, but hedge those bets just a little bit. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin has the daily divergence. So Bitcoin, we were kind of bullish on this just because of the daily divergence, but we were aware, right? We're not people who are saying, oh, we got it 100% right, right? We're never going to technically get something 100% right. We're always going to be assuming some kind of risk, and we're always aware of the percentage chance of this dropping back down. We saw that curl down, and we were like, okay, if that 4-hour can turn up, hey, we take back that 200. That's very, very nice. looks like these Bollinger Bands starting to get a little bit tighter and a little bit tighter. Just be aware that this can take place. So if we pull up that 4 hour and we see that curled up and we go, there's a reverse signal that can reverse down the daily here, but there isn't. So it looks fine. The 2 hour here, you're going, okay, it looks fine. What we'd start to probably say is, if these things start to cross down, we might see that sell one more time. So just be aware that they can always keep building more and more liquidity depending on how big of a move they want to see up. I still think Bitcoin will end up in the upward direction when it's all said and done. And I think it might even get to all-time highs, but it doesn't mean it's going to be smooth sailing. I mean, this is not necessarily what you want to see from Bitcoin, right? We want to see that big move, use as support, and then go. We keep seeing the big move, and then we give up too much. If you kind of look back here during those times where you see these kind of funky pullbacks for a while or even a while, right? You want to see that sporadic move. You don't want to continue like this, right? We don't necessarily want to do that. We want to see one sporadic move, a nice shelf, one sporadic move, maybe a bigger, deeper pullback, and then one sporadic move again. We're not seeing that. We're seeing these sporadic moves be given up very quickly, but the daily scale with the divergence down here would suggest that. And the fact that 5 other cryptos that I looked at last week during the Rumble live shows, 5 of them, 5 out of 5 were showing daily divergence, and a lot of them, besides Bitcoin, all the other ones really look like they were showing it on the MACD and RSI at the same time. So it can always be more complex, but I think at the end of the day, yeah, you can obviously see one more little move probably. You can always see another move, see if you hold the tapering. But if we do this, well, that might be just when people start to get bullish, it goes bearish, and then once they get bearish, it goes bullish, right? So we'll be watching. I think we're bottled up now, and judging by the monthly expected moves, I think Bitcoin less likely to see that low chopped out, but that doesn't mean it's not any percentage, right? I think it's always going to be there as you're in negative territory. Thoughts on IWM are pretty similar. I haven't updated the expected moves here, but you can get them over on Patreon for now. I guess we can look for that upside move, but for the most part for this, it's like, okay, it's a great move. If it goes up, where would it create structure, right? You're always thinking, where would it create more structure? Well, up towards these levels of about 210 would be nice. And for and 210 is pretty much your weekly upside move. So 210.19. Since you asked at the beginning of the week, good job, because I'll give you IWM if you ask pretty early. 197.39. Or actually, I pretty much give this when people ask, but 197.39. So you notice they shrunk down, though. So the implied volatility, again, shrinking down. One good thing for this to do is see that crazy move higher. Use the weekly expected move as support to head higher again. That would be a very, very good thing. Let me go look at this over on my other charts. We see right now, good move for Amazon, getting above what it needs to get above. IWM, use this. This is great because if you're looking at the monthly expected move here, then you're pretty happy with this move so far, right? You kind of know what we tagged there. And the divergence here was fantastic. So there's a big difference for IWM. When you look at IWM, you're seeing a lot of stuff really on the MACD. Try to be on the MACD before even the SPY or the Qs. SPY and the Qs made that over here. IWM was able to make it right here and hold it right over here. So this is fantastic for IWM. You have a bunch of divergence on your RSI, bunch of divergence on the MACD. So that's overall just like, hey, the daily scale can get a good move here. Where would I expect the daily scale to get to? Right there. Look at that. That would be insane. 215.54 would be fantastic. You'd go right up for that test of the 200. You could really fake people out. And this is where we'll pay it. Once we get to these type of levels for IWM, this is where we'll pay attention for the daily complexity, right? The daily complex bottom. We talked about the 30-minute one. We talked about the 2-hour one. IWM made both, right? Very similar timing, but it still made both. And then at the same time, we know because this daily MACD is so deep, we could see a big move up and completely wipe out that move, get people bearish again, maybe in April. We look at that monthly expected move, and then we could see that turn back around with a divergence. If you really look back, the times where IWM saw big moves, it had some kind of divergence, like a bigger divergence. You don't see that even on the RSI right now. So if we're going to get a big move, look at this. I mean, it's not on the MACD, but it's on the RSI, right? Over here, look at this move, okay? Look at this big move right here, this kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 move. Well, that one there had a big divergence beneath it. You see that the bottom's pretty much flat, and you see that, and you see this. So what do we not have over here? We don't have that. We don't have this. Now, it can do that sometimes. You see this. It can do that sometimes when it keeps good structure, and it's really showing a similar look to right over here in April, weirdly enough. As far as the structure goes over here, I want you to just kind of, here, we'll zoom in a little bit so you can see. But if you really see these 2 points, if you can see both of those on your screen, make sure you can. Look at this. We come down pretty aggressively, right? We make that little level up here, and then we come down aggressively. We go up, we kind of flag out, and then we see that next upside move. We gap the next day, right? And then we start. Okay, look to your right now. We're coming down aggressively. We make 2 key levels, really, 1, 2, right? We get almost fully up to that level. We see that move down, and then we actually get a gap up before. But you see how this is very much so similar to back in the past. Very, very nice. So we're watching, we're waiting, we're watching these things go, and we know where the risky areas are for this week. For this week, 210.19 could be the risky area, but I'll tell you what, if this thing starts to short squeeze and people start to short at those higher levels and it fuels it, seeing something crazy is normally a short, like some kind of squeeze. A squeeze is where you can violate those weekly expected moves. Around these areas, what did we do? We the next week here was on a Wednesday. Hey, Friday, Saturday, we've started to violate expected moves, right? These big gap moments, these big moments where people get real bearish, and then we see that, we see moves outside of them. So as we are seeing huge bearishness and this is starting to curl up, we can see it right now. And then we could even give it all up and go back down to the downside. That would be something to be aware of in case we are not going to V-shape, but this looks a little bit like it is doing the things it needs to do to not have to go down to those lower levels and make the divergence. We'll see if that remains for the remainder of the week. Yeah, we'll have to look at it from a weekly perspective. As of right now, this is very, very good for the SPY. Now it's really pointing to that move, especially can we hold up here? Holding up here for the next 23 minutes tells us a lot. Why? Well, look at the divergence we just violated. Now, it could be a different divergence, but we want to see this one violated, but this is the first step. So this is a good sign. If we see this close up in these areas, that would be great. It would say that extended move to get to something like 578 would be fantastic up in these levels, your weekly expected move at a very key level. I would like that to extend further. I would like that to go to 585. See something crazy, then see that pull back into these areas, and then maybe we're able to go to the upside again after we're done with GDP and all that stuff. Sorry, I was kind of going on a long thing there, but I just wanted to go over that real quick so people see the similarities for IWM. Elliott Wise entering a wave 3 up to 592 20 years before a pullback to the 0.38. How's AMC? How's that doing? Chris, yeah, I was hoping to, I hope a lot of people understood because you can look for those same things in IWM. You can look for those over in the SPY. But you need to understand those divergences are created a lot of the time before a big upward move. We are behaving like a bear market, so I wanted to point out the daily chart. AMC, I mean, these things look fine. The thing is for AMC, I just say to this, hey, if the daily has this look and it's exactly the same, right? Here's the thing. With like $500 goes a long way with an AMC option, but I'm holding the stock, but I'm just saying, like, if you're looking at the past, yeah, it was different from May of 2024. Very different look, but notice higher low, right? Now, that was on the gap up. You had to have some balls to take that right as the breakout happened, but this has divergence this time. This was an overall good move, right? But what's a better move? Well, a better move might have been back here, right? We might have seen a better move over in these areas, over in these areas. Well, what started this off? What started the extreme upside? A daily divergence. Look at it right there. It looks so similar to right now that I'm just like, yeah, I kind of would be, I guess, silly not to be like, okay, I'm going to, as long as I'm managing the risk to reward play, hey, this daily has confirmed. And what happened the last time it confirmed? Well, it started to do this, saw a gap up, then started to do this, then consolidated for a little while, seeing some big swings up, big swings down, and then eventually started to squeeze like crazy. So I'll be watching this one. I don't know if I got it, but Ta, thanks so much for the 720. Thanks for paying the plug. Appreciate you, buddy. Tesla, Tesla, Tesla. Okay, let's go look at Tesla. Remember Tesla? I think this thing's going to end up back at probably 357.78, to be honest. I think everyone was bearish on it. You can go look at, I tweeted about it. Everyone was bearish. And I'm like, yeah, every single Tesla tweet that I saw from a politician saying that it was bad and it's a terrible investment and all that stuff, I was like, yeah, it'll be up by probably 50%. It'll probably be up by like 50% in the next like few months. Streaming at 35,000 feet in the air. My flight back from. Hey, I hope that you have a safe flight. All right, Onda. But thank you for watching in the skies. We've made it to the. We're closer to the moon, guys. We're closer to the moon. But yeah, Tesla looks good. Still aware of this. Look at this. Once again, just like IWM, be aware that we can do some crazy stuff still. Volatility is not extremely low. It's right by 20, 1864 right now. Now, we can see crazy things. I just think we're going to need a moment of consolidation at some point this week with the data. Now, I know somebody saying, hey, we have a few minutes till data right now. I'm more so paying attention to in a few days, okay? Because today, yeah, we'll get the composite PMI, and things like that. We'll look at it, but will that really cause people to get overly bearish? That would have to be a crazy reading. So Tesla, we're aware, hey, we called this out. This could be the floor right now. Always the opportunity to drop down and fill those gaps. Still, the daily scale has the opportunity to go down and fill those gaps, right? We could see 2 days of positivity, curl down, curl right back up, all right? I think we might have a floor now, though. Based on your monthly expected moves for the SPY, it would be very weird for us to see this and then turn back down with that bad news, because what would we do? We'd potentially be closing outside of a monthly expected move, which is just not necessarily in our percentages as of right now. Dang, we talking good stuff today, though, folks. I like this. Sorry about that. How's Palantir looking? And Dubs, I don't know if I might have missed your message. I'm sorry about that if I did. Let's see here. Palantir. Palantir down here. Very, very nice for Palantir. Why? Why? You had a signal right here, right? Bam. 2-hour divergence, right? This is why we were talking about Palantir. We were saying, hey, if this can keep and get to this level, that's a good thing. It has been rather, pretty controlled, I would say, a little lackluster, but it got there. That's the key thing, right? And you can say lackluster, but because volatility is higher, you're going up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Oh, and then eventually we might not be able to come back as these traders start to maybe get bearish at these highs, right? So this is a great thing. This is the 2-hour going pretty damn positive. This is the 2-hour getting overbought. This is very likely to go to a weekly expected move. Oh, I'm on IWM over here. Sorry about that. I got to change something around real quick. Yeah, so very likely to go to a weekly expected move, right? That's overall how I like to see it. If I have a shorter expiration, I can make decisions around that weekly expected move. I understand that pullbacks can happen throughout the week, but we violated all the divergence on the 30-minute. You notice there was divergence building here. You need that gap up. Remember when we talked about this? It's like when you're going to see something crazy, usually you see a signal go wrong. And here's the thing about that. Where you decide if that signal is going to go wrong is completely different than other people, right? The decision making can be different. But if I see this on Palantir and I'm getting bearish, right? I see that. Okay, cool. I see that at the same time. I go, we're going to pull back. What tells me right away that this would be completely contradicted? If the 30-minute is crossed back up. If the 30-minute is crossed back up, this signal is gone for the time being, right? I have to see that confirm back down, maybe making another divergence point. And this move is violating all of that, which means this could not even extend. This could pull back on the 30-minute and start a whole new sequence of upside. Right? This is where I decide, hey, yeah, that's going wrong for me. I'm not going to bet that because I do see the structure, how we could head higher here. If we get a gap up, that's really going to hurt me. So this is a good way to read into the chart and be like, I might need to manage this at this point. Right? I didn't think that Palantir was the best thing to grab late last week. Right? That is why I have Amazon. That is why I have Meta, right? Those are the two that I decided because those look really good and look like they're still making signals down in here while Palantir was up in here. Doesn't mean I couldn't have tried Palantir in the past, but Very, very nice for Palantir to violate those divergences. What are you going to see when you see something crazy? Usually a signal go wrong. It's just when did you notice that signal could go wrong was right here. So this is where shorting Palantir was just not the decision anymore. That's the management of the trade very blatantly on the 30-minute chart in positive territory. Gold was something interesting, right? Gold's still holding the overall flagging. This is something that would most likely move dramatically down over the next few days, right? If this is going to go in that weekly expected move, I know a lot of people potentially trying to short gold actually, because we've been talking about how that looks like it's a little bit toppy. Let's put it that way. Are you going to get a pullback for entry? You might, you might not. I think you're more likely to, if you print this this bar in 15 minutes, I think you're more likely to start seeing pullbacks from this level or even pullbacks from this level. So if you get a pullback, hey, you're hoping for like a gap fill or something like that, I think. But also, we'll pay attention if this signal goes wrong, right? We're outside of a daily move. But I want to see how people are positioning. Looks like people go into the call side. We are still holding the 2-hour divergence for VIX. So if you really want to see an opportunity and you want to hope this market isn't based out right now, you're potentially looking for that pullback actually early on in the week. This signal has not gone away. So it is still possible, right? It is still very possible for us to reject for Amazon in these areas and need to fill that gap first. VIX is saying, I have a signal beneath me. Watch out. 30-minute is not posted yet. We could fade this right here and be done with it and be like, oh no. Maybe we even want to look over at this because we have more data over here that's filling in. And we just go, hey, is the 2-hour divergence holding over here? We see this. We go, okay, it's not holding the original, but it's still it's not holding the first divergence point that I created, but it's holding the original. And that's a difference you see here. So just be aware. We could go all the way to that expected move, see that thing fade off. So I'll be watching. I don't think there's no risk of downside move, but there never is, right? There just never is. Lucas, odds from 0 to 100% that GameStop announces it's converting into a holding company like Berkshire. I don't think that. Okay, so I'm gonna say 10%. I think there's a 10% likelihood that they announce something like that. I think the higher percentage thing that you should be paying attention to is if they do a filing, some kind of filing for Bitcoin, but don't necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily be saying like, oh, that means that they're turning into a Berkshire, right? They might make they might say they're a version of it. They might be a certain version of it, but I think right now the main thing is, are they going to be holding any crypto? I think that's going to be the thing. That's what everyone's wondering, and I think that's what everyone's banking on that news. What if the answer to that is no? What if the answer to that is no? That could be a pretty big deal. I'll look at the PMI levels, but thank you so much, Short Fridays, for the $5. We'll see, right? We'll see. I think it's more about what are they doing with the cash and less about a title, if that makes sense. But they could use that cash to invest in a bunch of different things, which would suggest they are maybe behaving like a Berkshire. But I don't think they're going to come out and just be like, we're the next Berkshire Hathaway. No, they might be like, we're going to become some partial holdings company or something like that. What do you think, Short Friday? What percentage are you putting on it too, by the way? I got to see. Yeah, it looks like the data came out, pretty strong there, 53.5. But then manufacturing up 49.8. Global services up. So you have two up readings, one down. Kind of a little bit of a mixed bag there. I mean, overall, hey, two I would say up, like positive readings, one kind of bad. Maybe that kind of satisfies everything though, right? If you're thinking about inflation versus recession, a mixed bag might be the perfect scenario to kind of balance people out and be like, oh yeah, we're actually kind of soft landing this bad boy. I have my life savings GME, so I'm not the best guy to ask. Very irresponsible gambler here. That being said, I mean, GME is doing great things right now. One thing to be aware of is, Short Fridays, I know you're a smart guy. You're not sitting there going, I'm playing my whole life savings in an option, I assume, right? You understand that GME during earnings week does go through problems. Something we'll look for right before tomorrow is I'm going to pull up the short sale and see if they're trying to do anything with the stock. Now, this could mean two things, right? This doesn't have to mean it's like it's a bad or good thing, but we can read into it based on the price action a little bit. Notice this, it was really dying off and then all of a sudden kicked in last week just a little bit. Nothing to be dramatic about. So we'll see what happens with this. But also, I think the market makers might be in a little more fear now. I think liquidity might be drying up for them a bit. And they're like, man, I hope they don't announce something really, really good. The thing is, at the end of the day, if they announce something that's good enough, that has more liquidity in it than what liquidity is there to fight down the stock or short the stock, then the bulls win, right? If there are more buyers, if they put out news and there are more buyers than sellers on that day, and maybe there's not some crazy, routing to dark pool, which eventually those dark pools do hit the price. That's why you see big gap ups potentially on Mondays, but eventually that will hit the price. Well, okay, awesome. It might be delayed, but if the buyers are more than the sellers in like a week from now, you potentially can see good things, right? This is great for the SPY. Look at the Qs. Great for the Qs. Oh, see, the Qs really got rid of all divergence here. I think volatility might just fail that signal. I'm still going to be aware of it, still going to treat it pretty seriously if it turns up, but I don't think I'll sell out of options. I think it's more of a hedge thing. Yeah, very nice on the options for both Amazon and Meta right now. Meta actually got the bigger move. That's kind of crazy. I really thought Amazon was bottled up, ready to go. The only thing that sucks is we see very weird market. I will say this, like during any GME or AMC earnings where there's kind of big hype around it, especially, we see the weirdest price action sometimes from like Bitcoin and the SPY, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we see a spike down from Bitcoin to 73K. I'm just saying, because we see that all the time. We saw it like last time. It's kind of wild, but Netflix going negative. Go look at Netflix. Pretty big guy. See, this one's holding the divergence. This one's different, but it's still bottled up. It's still bottled up. It hasn't chosen full direction yet. It is still suggesting. I know it's a red bar, but treat it like it's positive right now and treat it like, hey, I'm not trying to short this just yet. It's a positive bar crossing up the MACD and the RSI right now. This is the opportunity it has to potentially curl up and get and fill that gap towards maybe even go to 1,000 here. But what we know is once it starts to lose that 5, that's when we worry. Once it starts to lose this level and make a low, right? We almost see all these even highs, but we still have a higher level, a higher level. We start to violate 1, we might head to 2, okay? But for now, don't think that that red bar just going up and down like this is like a terrible thing for the time being. This is what needs to happen to see something crazy. Violate the divergence, see that upside move, and then, don't fail the signal. Right now it's confirming it, saying yes, but if it fails it and turns back down, starts to go negative, you're going to drop below these levels, which means you're probably heading a little bit lower, maybe even down to 890. Is that 890? Yeah. And this is where we're watching, right? So Netflix is a great example of something that could make a daily divergence. I will say that. Netflix is a great example of something that would make a very clean daily divergence if it wanted to. It has a very obvious buy zone, very obvious breakout area for that buy zone, right? And then we gravitated to that, creating more credibility to this zone. We see that the daily is still positive. So even if those signals do turn up for a moment and curl back down, if we start to lose those levels, hey, that daily could cross down and we could do this and that before it's all said and done. This is what I'm talking about with a lot of these stocks. It's kind of rough. The 2-hour would suggest, hey, that's not the highest probability, right? I still think this created great structure to the upside. I think that if the 30-minute is curled up in any fashion, I would be paying attention to upside unless it starts to lose probably 940. That would curl it down pretty aggressively. VIX for now, though, not even a curl up for the 30 minutes. So SPY doing SPY things, doing good stuff. Out of the daily unexpected area. This is why on my charts, I don't use daily expected moves. I do pay attention to them here with you guys. I'll sometimes pull them up throughout the day, but overall, I just like to see what is the stock doing, not on a day-to-day basis to convince me to do things. I'm just looking, hey, what is the stock doing? Well, it's gapping back above that monthly expected move, curling up the 2-hour chart on light volume, but we'll see if that volume kicks in throughout the day and then gets to maybe even filling this gap up here, or at least here where we could run into that resistance that blatantly was there with the wick. So once I do that, I don't have to sit there and be like, we're outside of a daily expected move, freak out, freak out, freak out. I'm like, no, I don't want to do anything crazy. I'm aware of how I can manage today, even with this upside move. Let's look at that. You seem a little worried. Let's go look at Nike real quick for our buddy over here. Let me move this so I can see your name in the chat. There we go. Nike, for the most part. Terrible earnings. Exactly when everyone gives up on it. Hey, what's going to happen? From these areas, this is a lot of volatility pretty fast. I think you're going to need a moment where you bottle up. Notice that. Bottle up, big move. I don't know if you're going to run into one of these. Maybe if we just get stellar news with GDP, I don't know. But I think you're in a moment where you could create something like this or this. Do you see that? Or even this, just real tight, right? Give us something. We haven't spent enough time here to build up for another big move. That's key. But you are in a buy zone where if you started to create those little divots down and then you see that move come back up, you could see that snapback reaction, right? We gap through this level. Right now we're testing it again, kind of testing and getting rejected. But the way to end up to 77.46 is you got to make a base down here, I think, kind of like these moments over here. So you might be in for a lot of time here. A lot of time here. Because this base, if you look at this base, from the first time we dipped into those levels all the way down to where the low was, it took like 3 weeks. So you might be down here for 3 weeks. Yeah, you're always paying attention. If the daily crosses up, right? We like it. It's fine. It's just you made a lower low, so I wouldn't be expecting this to sky through all this unless it just sees that V shape, gets to here, maybe taps back in. Bam, you need that to hold up better. So if you're not going to make divergence, you potentially have to make structure. You notice that the last time we didn't really make a daily divergence or anything like that. What happened? Well, you saw a big move up, you saw another big move down, you made a divergence, then you get the big one. So now you've seen a big move down, see maybe a move up, watch for another one down, or just keep that a little tight. I still don't mind Nike. I'm not very bullish on it, like say long term, because the market's in a very weak spot. Investing at these times, very risky in my mind, right? For what I like to do with my own money, I just go, yeah, these times are a little bit, even if the signal looks good, right? We talked about, was it Boeing? We've talked about Boeing a lot, and then look what happened with Boeing, right? Look what ended up happening with Boeing. Very nice, right? What have we been talking about? I believe we've only talked about weekly scales, and we've been paying attention to these type of levels. Right, we saw that weekly down here had potential for, well, a divergence on the MACD, and we're like, hey, if that curls up, now this makes sense. This wasn't the best signal, so I really like the fact that it dipped down to get that lower level, but notice it curled right back up. So remember, the monthly scale here is overall in some kind of, triangle, and we were suggesting that if you get another curl up right here, that's going to fling you into positive territory. This could break, and then right as we're saying all that back in these areas, and I think someone, I don't know. I don't think we talked about it here, but we definitely talked about it here. And boom, one rip down. Hey, opportunity. Let's see if the monthly can curl up. Everyone, I think that even Boeing for me would be like, ugh, that's a little wonky, but maybe something with China, something pops off, because it seems like Russia, Ukraine is kind of done for. Some kind of military thing. Thank you for doing IWM. Awesome. Okay, good. We were able to catch the IWM moment. And then, well, the NQ, I mean, NQ it's going to be similar, even just to the Qs themselves. At least the analysis goes, you're just blowing up the time frames. As long as you're violating 2-hour divergence, you're good to go. I think this continues to the upside. I think the only thing you're aware of is some kind of flash sell where the daily drops down. But I think you're very likely to see, and where that flash sell could happen, right? Everyone's paying attention to here. So something very good would be get up to here, see that get up there, even turn down, and then curl back up. Maybe you fill this gap. Kind of crazy to leave a gap in the NQ for very long. So like you look at a 2 hour, you're just going, okay, key level to get to. I'd really like this. Then we'd like to hold up better. Maybe see that flash down moment to get people bearish, and then we start to take off. You're holding very well. The Qs especially, they're just violating those divergences pretty heavy. And we did get this to print, so now you do see that good marker on your RSI. We'll see if that can extend now to the weekly expected move. Very good not to fade this right away. Very good to hold that monthly expected move. Baba. Let me see how this is doing. Oh, nice. Okay. I got to check on Amazon for a brief moment. Amazon going up to the weekly expected move, but I might look for that to extend through just a little bit there. We'll see what happens with that bad boy. As far as BABA goes, I mean, you might have time here to see if you could base out in some way. You haven't been making those great basing out signals, and the 2 hour up here is just showing divergence all across. And it's multiple points, so I see how it could be complex, but you're just starting to see volatility come in. Maybe it needs to get tight one more time before it's able to see a big drop, but the daily here is suggesting that this volatility is in some way a pullback, right? We've seen from this point right here, it's like, hey, any business going on could just be sideways, could be this. The only thing I'm worried about might be like Wyckoff or something like that. So really watch if we start to, I would say break through 129.50, I think would be a good level to watch. If we break through that, I think you're flashing down to 120 and you might go all the way back down and distribute that down to 101, right? Retest that breakout gap. It's a little bit ugly there for it. Now, there's always two ways. If this can remain in this block for a longer period of time, or even just for now, and then curl up into positive territory, hey, that would still suggest positivity and you've gotten out of overbought conditions. There's always two directions that it can go. So it's kind of like this. When's the opportunity, if you're thinking option, when's the opportunity for the option? Well, you're seeing big moves up, big move down, big move up, big move down. So am I going to short at the low or and potentially be like, yeah, that moment's now, I'm very confident? It's kind of risky. I'd rather see an high and then see that fail and then grab something here and see if we can break that level at that point, right? Shorting the lows, not working, right? Doesn't seem to be working the best. So why don't I look for a high, see if I get a little 2 hour curl down or something like that close to the center line. Right? We'll see this. Hey, what if that 2 hour just goes, okay, I'm going to go fill that gap. All right, I'm going to go fill that gap. And then it just fails. Well, here is where I'd rather make that decision, not here. Even if I'm going longer term, I would like that great position. Yeah, what this means, and I want to look at weekly because that's been turned down for a while. Yeah, you still could be in more pullback than this. But you are, see how flat you're holding. When you really look at a weekly, you're just like, okay, we're just pretty flat in here. But this little move is what's freaking me out. That little move, if that wasn't there, we'd be more talking about just continuation triangle, continuation flagging. But because of that move, we have to pay attention to 120. You have to pay attention to 101.29. A retest of 120 would be just great. You even came up to that area recently, so there's probably a little zone in there. Let's look at Nvidia. Oh, I don't need to type it. Nvidia's over here. Nvidia, very nice. Looking for the 2 hour to confirm, so this is going to take some time. Very nice for Nvidia. The thing that's weird for Nvidia for me is I don't believe the weekly expected moves are overly dramatic. I really don't. I don't see that they're overly dramatic. So any move above this high could potentially set up something bad, actually, or at least a bigger pullback might come. Maybe something crazy, right? There could be something crazy. I'm not eager to overly be dramatic and try to buy and sell too much. I'm just trying to make sure I'm comfortable with how long of expiration I have before we actually start to rip to the upside. This is nothing. This is not what I'm thinking is the rip to the upside yet. The rip to the upside will mainly be like, hey, do we get up to these levels, right? For something like Amazon. That's more what I'm watching. For the SPY, if you're watching that, I'm looking for, hey, do we get up to these levels, that 585? and ultimately maybe 590 to 595, right? That little zone in there. So this is not by any means the rip up just yet, but it is looking like maybe the beginning, which is very interesting. But just notice, if we do this, and then you're thinking this is going to crash down, well, that would be crashing down outside of your 68% zone. And look at the work we're doing to get back in it. Yeah, this thing's really trying to get back in it, so we're not seeing that drop down again. I like the SPY. I like how a lot of things look right now. I even like how Nvidia looks. I just think that the weekly expected moves, and you might have seen my video last night, I'm like, I just, as far as Nvidia looks, I'm like, yeah, that had an opportunity in the past. Now you're looking for the 2-hour swing higher, but you've already seen one big move, the pullback, and now you're maybe going to get one more big move. Whereas a lot of other things are still experiencing their first big move and then going to get the pullback and then see the next one. So I think there's more time for other things to move higher up than Nvidia right now. But Nvidia looks great. Like, I would not be, I'm not saying there's not an opportunity. I'm just choosing to stick with my other opportunities for the time being, right? You need that 2-hour to confirm up for Nvidia. That'd be good. Hey, Google, play Titanic theme song. What's Google doing, by the way? So Google up here. Oh, great. Okay, saw the gap up. We still want to say, hey, yeah, these things can go fill gaps and things like that. We are overbought on 30 minutes. We'd like them to hold up better. 2-hour trying to go positive here. Daily already confirmed up, confirming up even more. That's fantastic. This is where we could build some kind of pullback, something up here. But if we can just see that extend all the way to that 200 and then see some bad things, right? This actually looks very cool because you see this over here and then you see over here. And then if you went like that all of a sudden, and then people got really bullish and they wanted to make you a little bearish, ooh, they could flash it down for a moment. And then if people pile on those bearish bets, it might just swing back to the upside. And guess what? Right shoulder. So this could be very interesting for Google. How it builds back would be very interesting because it has divergence on the RSI. A lot of things have divergence on the RSI, even the SPY. Even the SPY had a slight one. Actually, I think that got erased. Yeah, that got erased, so just that 2-hour, 30-minute signal there holding. So for the time being, if you're in, say, a 2-hour signal play, well, then you don't necessarily want, in this case, as the 30-minute is very positive, right? Oh, wait, it's actually not as positive as I thought. Nice. Okay, good. So you can still use the 30-minute, right? If this crosses down, hey, potential to manage risk. You are still holding the original divergence point for the SPY, and volatility is still showing that there is 2-hour divergence. So just be aware, this doesn't have to be the exact bottom right now. We also could see another move even down, right? We even could. Volatility is suggesting that this is possible, but notice that would only maybe take us into Wednesday or Thursday if that happened all of a sudden, and then we might curl up going into, say, the end of March, which would be still in the monthly expected move. There's a lot of ways. Seems that way, RTV. And volatility does have a 2-hour signal like with that. So I'm not saying this has to be the safest thing in the world, but I do know that the 30-minute has curled up, and as long as it's holding that 570, pretty happy with it. I'm gonna. Oh, I just smacked my mouse. You see, I can't not work on Saturdays. I notice. I still went through, reorganized my office, completely cleaned it up, made it so the mic was in a better place. Like, God. Excuse me. Oh, what the heck was I looking at? I'm gonna try and do. Oh, my buddy wants to start streaming. We'll have to talk to him about that later. He's not streaming technical analysis. That buddy wants to probably do gaming or something. And they always my friends always hit me up when they want to start a project. I think gaming is so saturated. I don't know. Help Lucas out and hit the like button. I'd appreciate it, Hector. Dubs, what's up? SPY getting to the gap fill today from March 7th. March 7th, if that's this one over here, March 5th, March 7th. I mean, I think that's very possible today. There is a possibility that you continue to just do nothing, right? If they really want, you know how squeezes really frustrate people? They gap up, they sit all day, and they see like one little move down, then they gap up, then they sit there all day, then they see one little move up, then they gap down, go right back up, right? It's just to frustrate you. The better thing that I've noticed is it's less about me trying to move back and forth really, really fast, try to see where's this going to get exactly today. It's more about what does the money look like? When do I want to take my profit on the way up? That's how I like to look at it. Teaching them nerds. I get frustrated. I'm too competitive to do a gaming one. I think me and my wife tried to do one once for fun in our free time. It was pretty funny. I have some video. I could show you some of her clips of Valorant, and she is just so bad. It's so funny. We called her the terrible gamer girl. That's what we called her. And we grew by like 600 subs in like a week, and then we were like, I don't like doing this. It's funny. Anyway, yeah, a lot of the time gaps can frustrate you, like, squeezes, anything like that can frustrate you. So my whole goal here is to not let the market frustrate me and just understand, hey, where are my points where I'll think about selling? Well, for me, that's here, right? If I have a very short option expiration here, I don't have that. So I don't need to sell something on something unexpected on the daily, right? I want to see if I can get something unexpected on the weekly, and then that will convince me, hey, try to break even, if not make some money here, I was on Homebuilders. I figured Homebuilders would be participating. How's HGX looking? Yeah, there you go. Not bad. Not bad. I think the daily was what you're really watching here, right? Making sure that we hold that original point, right? Very interesting because it looks pretty good, to be totally honest. The 2 hours confirmed down. So once that 2 hour confirms up, though, I want you to look at this. I really want you to see how this is. And these are hard to see. I understand. I like it to be flat. So I don't say that this has to get exactly there. A lot of people I would still even draw it like this. But you can kind of see how we're going to potentially build that structure, maybe dip down into those lows just a little bit where we saw that gap kind of come in, and then we see the 2 hour curl back up. If the 2 hour curl's up here, I think home builders might be back for a little bit, maybe even for a few weeks, because this level is so important that, once again, I don't think we have to ever make it perfect for like a head and shoulders. I think you can still pay attention to, hey, does this weekly turn up and then turn right back down? Right? Because look how deep it is. This could turn up. It had divergence above it. The monthly's probably crossing. Hey, if that weekly turns up and then turns back down, it'll be a negative territory. Do we have the opportunity to make divergence? No, that's probably the first push down, and then you might make a divergence later. So this could be some kind of upside move. You're correct. I think you're right in assuming that. You're looking at a good support level. You're seeing decent signals. So if that 2 hour confirms up, that could be the start, and I'd be really watching this equal high around 742. Well, I have a hard time discussing like what I think on a day-to-day basis, because now you've seen a gap up. So depending on this gap up, you violated divergence. I'm still aware that things can happen. What are the signals telling me to pay attention to right now for the SPY? Right? That's the main question, right? Oakland Group. It's not, I can sit here and talk about what I think, but that's all going to be speculation. And I'm not moving my money with what I think. Ask me, what are you doing? What are you doing with your money? What are you doing is much more important. And what are the signals telling me to do with my money is usually what I'm doing. All right. The 30-minute just curled up into positive territory, and we already discussed the potential for a squeeze to begin now. Okay, cool. We know how that could become more complex, so we're aware of the risk. What is this MACD telling me right now on the 30-minute? Well, if we're squeezing, it is very likely to hold up better, right? And then see maybe another move higher and get to that weekly expected move. If we're seeing even a tiny mini squeeze here to fake people out before we drop down to 550, it is very likely that we get to the weekly expected move, right? So if my other stocks are getting there, I really want to wait for and see if the SPY gets there. When the SPY gets to these type of levels or gets past them, then I can be very comfortable taking some profit off the table as far as this goes. If the 30-minute rotates down, I would potentially manage all of my risk to the upside, actually. right? There's two ways to think about it. I can either hedge against it in case we just see a flash sell and that gaps up the next day because I'm still paying attention to the squeeze, or I can manage the trade and then risk opportunity cost, right? I'm risking opportunity cost because if it does then squeeze, right, the signals wouldn't be suggesting that, but we've seen gap ups before. We've seen that bearish sell to get you bearish and then it gaps right back up. Okay, cool. So opportunity cost there would be something I'm selling. I am still thinking about selling that opportunity cost. My options look great. 82% on just Amazon alone right now. That is not a bad thing. So I am perfectly comfortable, holding money, looking at other options that might be lower, looking for other things as people get very, very bullish right now. Notice that we have not seen a big moment where people get real bearish. I'm still going to be aware of if we flash down to 550 because people are still a little bit more to the call side, I think, right now. Not a bad thing. It just means, what's my plan? My plan is see what numbers look like at that weekly expected move. And if you think the money's good and you don't want to risk that money or something like that, hey, I'd rather take the risk of opportunity cost than risking money. That's in my mind what it is, right? Why? Opportunity cost is just money I would have missed out on, but it doesn't give me the opportunity to technically lose value in my money. I'm just choosing to take profit. And if something bad were to happen, I'm going to say thank you. But the other side of that is if I hold on to that, yeah, I could make more money. But if we see some kind of flash sell, then, I'm out of the water, right? I lose money. So that's kind of what I'm toying with in my head right now. But I'm not inclined at all to really manage risk until we get to something like 577.57, unless this 30-minute curls down and volatility curls up on the 2-hour with that divergence. Jonathan, thank you so much for the $10. Thanks for all the chats in there. It's been a lot of fun talking about some stuff here. I hate money. Perfect. Don't hate money. Hate Wall Street. And then start to play the opposite of their game. That's the goal, right? That's the goal, is to figure out what they're doing to kind of trick you. And if you're choosing to be a day trader, you have to do that every day. I just have to do it at key moments. And guess what? They tricked me here a little bit, right? Monthly expected move. Hey, okay, curled down, saw that, never came back. Okay, after a few of these bars, I just go, all right, dropping out of, what was it at the time? That was the JP Morgan trade, actually. JP Morgan faked me the hell out. But guess what? It didn't make me upset. I said, oh, okay, you're going to set up the opportunity a little lower. Bam. It's not even an hour in. You're correct. You are correct. But the monthly zone is much more important than the daily zone. So I'd pay attention to the fact that we gapped exactly up above the monthly and then used it almost as support with a wick. I'd be watching. Depends. I think you don't want to buy calls at this level because you potentially take really short expirations. I think people who are taking 2 to 6 month expirations are loving this type of behavior right now. You're taking back the 5, first little test of the 5 with some almost flagging, bam, to the upside. If people that are looking 6 months out are looking at the daily chart, they're going, looks like the upside could happen. You know what those people 6 months out would say if this happened? Hey, they might sell those positions here if they're managing trades, but once it comes down here and they see this again, they'll go, looks good. All right, people are very simple. We take back the 200, looks good. Oh, we lost it. Never mind. Nope. Okay. Oh, we took back the 200, looks good. All right, and they'll just buy at those points for 6 months. There's a simpler way to do it for them, but they might not even do options. 2 hours confirming up here, so this is suggesting this should continue. 2 hours not even overbought. See if this gets violated today. We'll keep it on a 30-minute, though. Hey, that's all right. You still made it, right? Still made that money. Now you're just saying, hey, I don't want to deal with, you'd rather have opportunity cost. Should have, could have, would have. I mean, I bet you're really watching this and you're going, well, remember the 2-hour signal? If you would have bought here, say for like a 2-month option, you think that would have been bad? Right? It's all a matter of how you're thinking and the type of decision making you're making. That's why we talk about some of the decisions that I make, right? I just said, hey, from this point forward, I'm going to be looking at those individual stocks for opportunities because we've curled up on this 2 hours, this 2 hour chart, and then start to scale in up to all the way out to about April 17th from last week. And that's the amount of time that I think I need. But if I was taking a week, I'd probably be selling everything right now. I'd be like, okay, that's going to be good money. Loving this, holding them comfortably above the 200. I mean, this is what we've been waiting for, right? The funny thing is, those accounts that I don't really trust, I had to see what they were saying because they were calling a crash all weekend long. And then today they wake up and they're like, the market just bottomed. We're in this. We knew this was coming. And I'm like, you literally told people crash all weekend long and then made a video this morning when you saw, or you made a video late last night when you saw the futures market. But okay, people are weird. People are crazy, man. They'll just like completely manipulate. It's crazy. It's very good. If we hold that daily expected move for the day, it would still be a great thing. And the crazy part about JP Morgan is the timing was off and it still got there. I could have held this option, it still would have printed for me because I was so long dated out. Daily chart. Remember, this is where it went wrong. Obviously, we went to the 200, made the same signal, and then we saw upside. 250 was the target for like the first or second week in April. That's kind of crazy to me. Or 250 was the target. I believe, yeah, it was first week of April. And we're like there. Weirdly enough, that all would have came back. So, but my timing felt off, and I'm making other opportunities, and I think that's fine. The timing was off with that one. It's very nice though. I don't know if the 2 hour divergence was even there, was it? It was just very slight, very slight. And then it was once we take back the 5 and we're able to hold it. So you had to have some confidence in it, and that's for sure. Maybe that's why I didn't even look at it again, because you're always looking like, hey, we might need that moment. So JP Morgan is saying, yeah, we're not turning down this week. That's kind of what JP Morgan's saying. It's saying I need to see something crazy to the upside. We could look at Rumble. Yeah, we can look at Rumble. It just has earnings this week. That's why I didn't even make weekly expected moves for it. We were maybe going to. We like Rumble, and it has great 2 hour signal. It has a daily signals on the RSI. Not necessarily a full, I would say, golden setup like in the course, but the golden setup's just the perfect setup, and it kind of has the 30-minute and the 2 hour at the same time, but it doesn't have the daily. So daily, we'd like to see maybe more time with it, but as it's seen dramatic downside, I mean, opportunity cost would say most people are going to think this will go up. So you're looking for that eventual retest of 1050. But this has earnings, man. It's going to be 50-50. This could literally end up 20% down. I wouldn't be surprised. It could end up 20% up, and I wouldn't be surprised. So it's earnings. You're at the 200. I think most people will look at this and see, okay, calls are probably the move, but the IV on this might be so high that you can't even make money if you're right. So that's why I was not trying to put out Rumble on Patreon. You notice we didn't make a weekly expected move. We said we might. The reason I didn't was because of the earnings. I was like, I'm not going to encourage earnings plays. Okay, let me go look over here. I still have Nvidia up over there. Okay, so 210 would be 209. Solid. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, thanks for asking, Mike. Yeah, I wish I could give you more, but that's how I always have to talk about earnings unless I see a golden setup. So I checked for the golden setup. You have some decent signals, but I think a lot of people are going to see down, down, down and be like, oh, well, earnings is going to be good news. And it could just not. It's just like last week, there were so many opportunities that popped up that it's like Rumble having earnings is one of the risky ones, right? I even think Apple was one of the risky ones because it didn't have the best structure at all. So look over names like TTD. We could look at TTD real quick. Yeah, it looks still kind of flaggy, but good moves, great moves. You need that to get uncontrolled, I would say. Because on the 2 hour, yeah, it's pretty up and down, pretty up and down. A lot of 2 hour divergence too. So you like this, even though it violated on the MACD, you still like it right there. And you're going, okay, double bottom if we can really get through this high. Hey, you gap above that high, so you're probably looking for this to extend. Maybe you see a 30-minute pullback at 58.75, but it looks like the 2 hour might be eventually getting to at least $60, something like that. It probably will, Frederick, but probably to ignore, what is it? To ignore, for like say the SPY or the SPX, like say 600, whatever you want to do, to ignore the fact that the weekly expected moves are only this big, and maybe we do still need to go down to fill this gap, would be silly. But this is what you need to see, right? So is this the moment of the squeeze? Well, if so, we should see some uncontrollable behavior here. And I just think with GDP coming in and supposed to come in lower, it's very likely we see a pullback in these areas, and then we need to see if that rejects all the way down, or are we going to hold that monthly expected move? Once we see if we can hold that monthly expected move, yeah, I think 600 is on the table. I would say 600 is probably where we gravitate to, actually. We'll look at the April monthly expected moves at that point. Yeah, I don't think 600 is impossible, but to say, we'll say it like this then, right? If this is going to be complex, if this is going to happen now, it looks like 600 will be hit in the next next end, by the end of, what is it, April? Yeah, it looks like 600 could be tagged by the end or end of April into early May. That's what it seems like to me, right? That gives it enough time to do whatever the hell it wants to do from now. And you notice this would take us into, mid-April. I'm not really leaning towards that. I'm leaning towards, hey, yeah, we see upside. We see those pullback moments that turn us to the upside. So I think you're going to hit, I think, right? But I'm aware of everything else, right? I try to be very careful with how I speak about things because so many people listen. So I want to make sure to show, like, I am aware of other ways this could be more complex, but the more likely thing here is we're going to hit 600 or at least something like 590 in April. Yeah, there's like a lot to explain with it when you're, talking to 200 people. I know you're asking the question. We think we kind of treat it like a one-on-one answer, but at the same time, there's 201, say, other people listening right now, and they might just hear, "Oh, 600 is going to happen. This is good." No, you have to understand this could be complex, but it could end up there later. That means your timing with an option still could be important, and your emotions towards it could be important. So does the SPY need to close above 200 on the day? Closing above the 200 would be great. Everyone is probably looking at the 200 for rejection, right? So that's why I'm really watching volatility, like violate the damn signal. Okay, volatility, violate the 2 hour signal. See that strong move up to 577. See that get to the weekly expected move. Then we can pull back and use the monthly. Ultimately, I'd really like this to get to 584. I think we're going to, in some way, pile up, with GDP or before GDP, and then we'll pile up, and then GDP could be the thing that is the reason, quote unquote, for heading higher, right? They can always convince you of the reason. Just think of it this way: if someone was in control, right? Someone had enough money to just control where stocks go, say almost all the time. Well, then wouldn't it be very easy for me to tell you why a stock is going up? That's how I look at it. I don't really care why it goes up because they could just be telling me whatever they want to tell me. I'm more worried about, do they have money in this thing? Do they have the retail market a little bit trapped? And I think you do, right? I don't care what they tell me. They told me transitory, right? I knew the whole time it wasn't transitory. Can you take a look at snow? We can look at snow real quick. Snow, very nice. Very nice. Able to take down the key level. Okay. 2 hour has it on the MACD, not the RSI. This is why these can work out. This is great. It's going positive. I would say, I think with this type of move, a lot of the time it invites that little sell down to retest, and then you see what happens. So I'd be still aware that something like that can happen. 2 hours starting to get overbought here. If you're lucky, this 2 hour can remain overbought for a while and just go all the way through to like here. That would be fantastic to get to the gap. And then you see that little edge form would be very, very nice. So I like the look for now. The daily is curled up for now. You have to see points of consolidation can come anywhere in here from now forward. You could also continue to squeeze. This is why people take longer out options. Because for this, we never made, actually we kind of did, but we never got down to these levels first. So a big snapback from here to potentially 170 to 178 would be making a lot of sense to me. Doesn't mean pullbacks can't happen. Doesn't mean failure can't happen. I don't mind it though. It looks just like everything else, like it wants a big daily upside move. 6,400, 6,500. I'm still attracted to 6,200. I want to see how we behave around there, but I want to see, we potentially have to make daily divergence again. So this could go for a little while, right? We made it through, right? We corrected in March, but we didn't necessarily crash, right? We were paying attention to March. We were paying attention to March. Remember at the beginning of the year, January, March, what's the next point? Maybe even October. Now, the way things are shaping up, if daily divergence pops up anytime this year, we're going to pay attention to it, okay? But October could be a very big possibility. If we see a good upside move and correct again, we could see another great upside move into October, weirdly enough. 64, 6,500 would be a lot. And if you're calling that, then you need daily divergence, and you probably need a pretty damn sizable, productive, I would say, positive move on the daily scale. You're going to have to, you're telling me right now, if it's going to 6,500 from right now, even if it makes it a divergence, I'll give you that. If it's going to need to see moments like, this again. Which means what? Hey, that took place from end of November to the end of February. So you're talking a lot of time, a decent amount of time there. And you're technically starting from the low point. So that means you could be starting from right here, right now. That was August all the way to February. You have a lot of time that this thing could take to go up and up and up and up and up, make those signals. Oh, I'm kind of with you, Dave. I'm just talking about the timing, that's all. I think you bought yourself a ton of time with how long we have spent time down here. Why is it going up today? Because everyone was bearish. We had a 68% chance to end in our monthly expected move, and we saw reversal signals across the board on almost everything. Literally, I could click on almost any chart on my right, and I could show you a reversal signal. And guess what? On half of them, I could click on them, and they'd be at or below monthly expected moves at the time of creating that signal, which is what we pay attention to, Courtney, all right? I'm just wondering if news is out. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Someone in chat can tell you if news is out. Did volatility do it yet? Did we get a 2-hour move low enough? It's definitely a low enough move for a 30-minute. Like this could still take its time down here. Notice what we make when it reverses back around. Divergence, divergence. We have none of that right here. So this could literally go like that. That's probably how we use the daily upside move, or even fill this gap and turn right back up. So I raised the AMD news that they were selling more retail GPUs than Nvidia. That's very good for AMD. Yeah, AMD had the signals for sure, dude. AMD was, you can go back to the live show. Someone asked. I didn't put money behind it. I don't trust AMD personally, but that's just because of my trades in 2024 with it, right? I have my own personal reasons, not saying you don't or can't have a reason to buy, right? If you would like to, that's your decision. But AMD last week, I think it was last week, someone asked like early last week, hey, who has the best reversal signal? Who has the best divergence, the most significant? AMD. AMD had the most significant single divergence, but we did have a bunch of like quadruple divergences across a lot. AMD trauma. Yeah, sorry, pretty much. Wondering if I could push through 112. I've been in AMD for a while. Waiting patiently. That's great, though. That's great. I like that you added the patience, Courtney. But yeah, you can look for news and those kinds of things. I don't pay too much attention to it, to be totally honest, unless it's like a big data drop or something. What are my thoughts on tomorrow's open? Hey, man, if you're starting good things, this could be a moment for a squeeze. I still think we could potentially even see a big move out to 585. But I'm aware, I'm ready at all times. Volatility right now is saying, watch out for tomorrow, right? It's still saying it right now. If it goes away, we'll talk about it. I can still see a reaction, but it's very likely to end in these monthly expected moves. Hey, that's awesome, Tall. Yeah, I remember you talking about that. So tomorrow, hey, as far as right now, what's my money doing? Hey, I'm gonna hold calls unless we hit a weekly expected move or something like that, and I have to taper off a little bit of those calls. Okay, but my money says I think that we will end up in the upward direction after all said and done. The AMC moves yesterday, the manager told me they removed resources like people and heating up the specialty popcorn on display. No bueno, short Fridays, no bueno. Yeah. Usually if someone asks like, what do you think is going to happen exactly tomorrow at the open or the close? Usually that's a sign you're trying to probably take a trade or something like that. Trying to use me. No, I'm not that style of trader. I don't care what tomorrow does. I'm gonna get off before I do something. See what's gonna do puts on the rip from TSLQ, TLSQ. Una más cervezas. Oh yes, need the beers. They just said they're losing all their best movies and actors to streaming services, no longer AMC. Yeah, I mean those actors and stuff, they'll probably get lost to AI soon enough. That's already happening. They're paying it. I mean, potentially it's happening a lot already. They're paying like models lower amounts and just asking for the rights to use their face, and then they just have you forever. Once that happens, man, we might see like who's someone really like I don't know. You might see like young Tom Cruise out there just making movies, even though he's dead. See, Courtney, I think that's that's the decision to be made, and that's kind of the one I'm leaning towards. James Earl Jones back from the dead. Fucking Indiana Jones 12. Everything's gonna turn into Fast and Furious. Just taking things way too far and keeping them going forever. Let's see. Got still Apple. Like the thing with Apple is it's never seen the good. Now the 2 hour is trying to reject here, but it's still negative. So you have to be aware. Like Apple can still drop. Like it doesn't have the best signals as of right now. I think 225 is very possible though. I think Apple's one that is more so suggesting, yeah, we're gonna start to squeeze soon. I don't think it has a lot of time. And the Apple's one that's kind of convincing me, like, hey, based on that monthly expected move alone, if you take that into consideration, it's really looking like Apple needs to see even more upside. Doesn't mean it can't see pullbacks now. It just means it could get a rigorous upside move soon. I think it's at the good level to make that handle as well. You look at this from the 2-hour perspective is fine. There's a way for it to break down. There's a way for it to break up. But if you can get a nice little 30-minute in here without curling down the 2-hour MACD into negative territory, I'd be more confident in saying, oh, maybe we're just building up to a solid level here. If we can go a little bit higher, that'd be nicer, actually. But this could just be a 30-minute pullback at this point, right? Pretty high up now. We've given it up from these levels before, so just be aware. Maybe they do really want to fake people out. Man, if they end this outside of the move, it still can. 32% chance to do so, but Apple is suggesting one or the other. It's saying like, hey, we're going to see a move down to really say like, we're closing outside this, get you nice and bearish, or or we're actually going to see Apple rip. So I don't think Apple was an easy trade to pull off. Obviously, if I did, I would take money behind it. What trades did I think were easy to pull off? Meta. I think Meta and Amazon were the easy trades to pull off. Right? If I thought a trade was really easy and it's like one of the stocks I really pay attention to, especially Apple, like I would have taken it. I don't think that one was easy. Yeah, that's probably put volume too. You're seeing probably similar data to that. Yeah, put volume is the similar levels to COVID low. That's why I think squeeze right now is possible. That's what the monthly expected moves are suggesting. I'm just keeping in the back of my mind that 550. I want to see how people. I didn't even look at. I don't really care about max pain for the day. I just want to look at how people are at for the end of the week, because I'm guessing it has more than 700,000 contracts now, so it's probably worth looking at. SPY for the day. That can't be right. They have put amount as. No, that can't be right. What? I've never seen this before. I'm going to show it to you guys. There might be a glitch in the data. Wait, why is this happening? Does anyone else see this on theirs? Why does it say 0 for the puts? Did you guys see that? That's really strange. I've never seen that before. Maybe it's just a data lag or something, but we can't really read into it now. That's really strange. Only calls. Yeah, it's like, yeah, everyone deleted their puts out of it, huh? No short sellers. Huh. Everyone bullish. No. I think that's a data lag in some way. There's no fucking way. The only thing that's making me irky is like, are they just being like, yeah, let's just not let's just let algorithms take this thing to the upside. There's always glitches around GME or AMC earnings too. This is why like I think if there isn't proof of it happening, then the stock market, whatever money moves are being made around that time, is making the stock market be weird. Every single GME week we see shit like this. I might look at something else real quick, see if I can find that. People pretty damn bullish on that move. Dollar scaling up. 10-year yield is up too, which means HYG slightly up, but not seeing a massive move just yet. Pretty good move. Still Dow Jones wiped one out. IWM still holding. So IWM is saying it could still head down. That would just be very crazy this week. As far as it goes this week, it's really leaning towards squeeze begins. At least by the end of the week, right? By the end of the week, we should see a little bit more, and then going into next week, we'll be aware that the daily can come down and make that divergence. But interesting stuff. What are people talking about here? 3 a.m. candle has no tag GP at 568. Doesn't mean it has to fill, but the gnarly ones like that usually do by end of day. Yeah, still could happen. I think I'd just be more inclined with like if I react too much without understanding my macro view on things, then my macro view is we're going to end in the monthly. If we're going to end in the monthly, it means we're going to hold up better or create a reversal signal to head down in the first week of April. All right, so if I take that into consideration and I go, okay, I can understand this. My macro says that there should be a potential squeeze here. My micro could keep me from holding on to that decision in my head. Nope, they don't always have to fill back down. Gap and goes are usually the biggest way that squeezes actually start, and then you sometimes see it taken back later, right? That's not really a good example, but right here would be like an example. Right here, boom to the upside, and then you see like these little consolidation type days, then you just keep going. But notice this, over time, you start to fill a few of those. You leave behind the rest of them, and later on you come back and fill it later. So we'll be watching. If it's a strong move, you'd like to see those gap ups, and in here you probably see reversal signals, weekly moves, and things like that. I still like to take profit on the way up. I need that 2 hour to go real positive here. Good curl up. Need that to hold for 45 minutes. What I think of Meta, I think Meta looked fantastic. I think Meta is getting back in the monthly expected move. I think it's doing everything it needs to do for me to say, okay, something like 660 is very possible. Now, the weekly expected move would suggest we're going to turn down from here for Meta. This is where like we pretty much got to the weekly expected move. I'd like to see us get past it. I want to see when the SPY or the Qs get to their weekly expected moves. And then I'll make decisions as far as taking a little bit of profit off maybe. Right? I'm someone who likes to take profit on the way up pretty aggressively. I don't need to make a bunch of money. I just need to make money. I need to make an amount of money I want to. So something like Amazon, already looking at this and going, well, we could touch back in the zone. I really want this to get to 208 to 210. But if the money looks good, I might take a little bit of profit, mitigate the risk. Yeah, I think profit taking at these levels for Amazon and Meta on the first move up, people make that decision. I think that's perfectly fine. I think we might have more squeezability. We'll see. GME earnings always makes me a little Nvidia is the riskier one, I think. I think Nvidia was the harder one to do. No, it wasn't originally. Nvidia was the first one to do. Nvidia, like you saw that upside. Nvidia had a signal for it. So Nvidia pulled everything off better than other things earlier, which is great. But now you're going, okay, 30 minutes crossed up, 2 hour crosses up right here. It looks good, but your weekly expected moves aren't suggesting that that has to be some kind of massive thing, right? Not yet. They're saying this is early on in the week and you could get to these levels and continue to squeeze. You can see crazy stuff out there, but it would say the risk for the week is you get to like 125 or even a little bit above that, maybe to like 127.50, and then you see that curl back down. Maybe for a pullback, right? Maybe not. Big plane come by. 2 hour just confirmed up though in 40 minutes, so we'll see for the SPY. Like I can watch the SPY and then be like, okay, cool. But you know who would really like a good personal spending number? Yeah, probably Meta and probably Amazon, my two trades. So I'm going to be watching them pretty closely into the personal spending, personal income, which is all the way into what, Friday? I think that's into Friday. What do you mean? What does that mean? You don't understand SPY. We're near the weekly. You're 4 points away from the weekly. And the weekly is a perfect level to get to. So you're not there yet. All right, I'm going to go use the restroom real quick. I'm going to stay on for another 20 minutes or so, and I will be right back here in a moment. So don't go anywhere. Be right back. Yeah, remind me in a second, Ryan, okay? And I'll check it out for you. Ooh, baby girl might be going to Abuela's, which means I get to watch stocks and hang out with mama. That ain't a bad time. Sorry, miss. I heard some discussion of AMD. We haven't looked at AMD actually. Let's go look at that because it was great. So the reason AMD was great was because one, you had a 30-minute divergence on the RSI here if you wanted to take a chance on the shorter time frames, but two, the 2-hour signal was just so good. Right, this curl up like right here is just insane. Maybe a management of the risk came in, but if I'm leaning towards squeeze and I see those monthly moves, I'm pretty confident to hold stuff. Do you see how the decision making can change based on the environment? And someone asked about this and said, hey, which one has the best divergence? And you look at how significant that was, and I said AMD. Now, just because it had the most significant doesn't mean I trusted the stock, right? This is one that I really thought about taking, but I didn't. My 2024 action with my trades with AMD were a lot of management of the trade, so I didn't take it. But this likes to curl up daily charts. I took things that I more trusted in this environment, not AMD, right? If the things I trust more are making good signals, I will trust them over something like AMD. This is a curl up into positive territory. Notice it's been bottled up for a while, going down for a while. A lot of things going on the daily chart. But the daily chart was able to turn up. The weekly chart here, if that turns up, we could see weeks of positivity where this thing gets all the way to 134. Hell, this thing could get all the way to 160. But I think the first level to really pay attention to is probably this little area right in between these two blocks. That kind of 135 to like 125, that 10-point area would be very interesting to see if you consolidate, hold up above the 200. Want to be aware that these semiconductors have looked good and the daily is able to curl up, and look how far away it is from the 200. So always watching for that 200. Hey, that's up towards 139 right now, but maybe by the time it gets there, it'll be that 133, 134. That's where I'd be looking. But you got to make sure that this is the base right now. The daily chart could literally turn down right now, sweep the low, get a divergence, and then turn back up, and I would not be surprised. So Overall, though, 2-hour signal, great move to the upside. Am I at a weekly expected move, right? Am I getting the inclination of like, hey, this has been a solid move for AMD for a little bit of time? Well, you might want to join Patreon because that really will help you out in making those decisions. And then you'll notice the other thing, which is, now AMD is seeing something a little too crazy, I think. And it could get to 115 and then see a pullback. So this is where if you're trading shorter term, you got to be looking deeper. You got to be looking at your weekly and monthly expected moves. Was it you, Mr. Watson, that asked like what was the most significant divergence? Was it you? I know someone asked, and I was like, AMD looks the most significant. It looks the most crazy to me. I still didn't take it. I will admit, I did not take it. I don't really trust the stock, but that's just because of my previous trades. It's not, I have no malice for the company in any way. Bitcoin able to do some stuff here. Very, very nice. The more positive this goes, the better, right? The more positive it goes, the better. 4-hour divergence not there. We can see mean pullbacks and things like that, but I like that look so far. Wolfie Boy seeing a little upside. Rumble seeing a little upside. JP Morgan getting that upside. Probably going to get above 250. We'll see. I think we're very likely to squeeze this week. I just, based on the individual stocks that we like to watch and their expected moves, they don't have to land out inside them or anything, but it's really leaning towards a type of squeeze. And added more when it looked good last week. Very good, Terrence. Very, very nice. Yeah, you got to take into consideration where it's at for the month, but know that where it's at, Terrence, if you're part of Patreon, you know what I'm talking about right now for where it's at for the week and the month. The risk starts to get a lot higher right now. The risk starts to get, at least, I'll double check and make sure, because AMD, I haven't traded it a bunch. I'll make sure that I have the correct monthly expected moves for it over here on my charts. Where the hell are you? There it is. Yeah, I should have the correct ones. So that's telling me, okay, I need to be aware that this is where it starts to get risky. We can still see something a little crazy, but we still have now, weirdly enough, AMD has done so well that by the end of the month, it could be in a pullback mode from right now. Isn't that crazy? I feel like that's crazy. Everyone, we were talking about how it was, creating those signals just a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago. Yeah, see, a lot of the other ones were like they're holding the bottom side. AMD is doing something crazy right now, guys. All right, let's look at VRT for Ryan. Ryan, are you still here? Make sure to say hey in the chat, Ryan, if you're here, and we'll switch over to VRT for just a moment. I'll give it a brief look on my other charts over here. Then we might just pull it over. I just want to make sure Ryan's still here so he doesn't miss it. But okay, Amazon's starting to see a little resistance come in. Yeah, they're going to have to drop this thing to get people there. All right. For VRT, the initial take on this was just like, hey, what's the 2-hour look like? Is it holding the same signals? And the good part here is you violated 30-minute, doesn't look too good there. I see how it's coming up, but this is going to show really well on the 2-hour. Yeah, there you go. So your 2-hour move was technically here. Hey, yeah, it got volatile, right? Technically right there at 82, it said long me. And then you start to make those reversal signals on the 30-minute, and you probably get pretty damn worried. And I understand that. You have a divergence at the same time on the MACD and RSI, right? So this is saying, upside's going to be tough. Now, when do you know that upside is back? Hey, at the very, I think it was, did it happen at the end of, it did happen at the end of the day. Right in these bars in here, they said, hey, if you believe that I'm not going to flag and turn you down, look at the structure, right? Are we at a good level? Yeah, pretty damn good. I would say right here at this level here, about $90. Very nice. And you're trying to see, hey, can we hold up better? Can we hold up better? Can we hold up better? So this one probably took some balls to hold on to, but if you really had faith in your macro environment here and you're like, yeah, this has been going down for way too long, you look at the daily scale, you see that little divergence at the same time, you see that confirm, it's kind of hard for me to go, okay, a daily confirmed. Did the 2-hour rotate down? Yeah, it did, but it keeps rotating back up. So I wouldn't say this is the easiest one in the world to play. I think this was, look at the daily chart, make sure it's behaving well, and overall just be like, okay, is this consolidation head higher? Now you break above and you feel way more comfortable now holding upside, I think, than you did just a day ago. Does that make sense? Like, I think you feel way more comfortable now to say like, oh yeah, this broke through the wicks. Now we can go to that 200 towards like 102. That's what it looks like to me. Things can fail, right? 2 hour curls down and goes negative. We start to lose this level again. Hey, watch out below because the daily could make a divergence here. So we're aware of the downside that could happen, but we're enjoying the upside price action. I don't think anything is wrong with that. All right, let me go pull over. Oh, God dang it. I accidentally hit the button. Now my mouse is going to be all slow. I always do that. Oh, my God. It's going to do it again. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, 1600. Jeez, that. I need to scoot over or something. There we go. Yeah, so what I'd really look for, too, is like, if you think a big pullback is going to come, I mean, maybe even now is the time where I look at 5 minutes and I just go, okay. Like if I look at these and there's no real something to worry about, I know there's not really anything to worry about on, say, maybe even the 30-minute chart for something like Amazon, for something like Meta. The 30-minute charts look like a pullback could happen, but most likely a pullback happens maybe with a 5-minute divergence. So maybe I can pay attention to that and then understand, okay, now a pullback is potential. I mean, you look at these, like even 15 minutes is way up there. You can get a 15-minute pullback and everything would be fine. You could do this the rest of the day and still be fine. But I'll tell you what this looks like so far. Kind of looks like squeezing, which is very strange because we have some calls, real big amount of calls. Usually you see this kind of in the middle or something like that. So what we want to see is, do the calls, when they get to the weekly expected move, do they shift? Do we start to do this? That'd be a good thing. So for the SPY, it's kind of like, hey, I know people have calls here, but what are they going to do here once things start to get unexpected? Are they going to go bearish and then we just keep gradually going up? That'd be pretty crazy. Seriously, super stressful, bought at 90. Okay, I just read that, Ryan. I literally was going through it, and you'll notice more and more as I start to go like, but I could have reacted to this. I try to think of how my emotions would be during the trade when I do kind of an analysis on stuff like that one, especially because I go, okay, this curled up, but yeah, well, here it really kind of showed weakness because it was so volatile. Those quick dips down. So I totally get it, and I just said, said what happened in my chest, which is that looks like it's a little bit tougher to hold on to. You probably had to have a few balls in your pocket. Guys, later today, just so you know, we're going to be streaming here for another about 15 to 20 minutes. I have a little bit more time, but today we will be doing our first closing stream over on Rumble. If you guys would like to join over on Rumble, I actually don't think click on one of my previous videos. We should have the link to Rumble over there. Or can I post that? I don't think I can post links to YouTube, can I? Let me try real quick. Can I post to YouTube? Can I post a link? I mean, I guess I can. Let me try to post that link real quick. If you guys want to go follow that real quick. And then for the last closing hour of the day, we will be there, right? We will be there ready to go, ready to look at that close for you. This will be our first closing stream. Oh, and look at that. I need to change the link. Rumble has recognized our hard work, and you guys coming over there was a big reason for that. So Rumble has given me my own link, and there you go. It's right there in the chat. It should be able to click on that. Hopefully you're able to click it. Join us over there. It's been a good time. During the close stream, that is like 4 a.m. Oh my goodness, YS. Okay, yeah, I totally understand that. Usually I'm going to try to get on about an hour and a half. So an hour and a half before the close, whatever time that is for you, Terrence. Okay, an hour and a half before close. So for me, the close, it closes at 3 for me. So I'll be on at around 1:30, kind of that little bit after lunch. That way we can kind of discuss some things for 30 minutes. And then maybe we need to talk about what's going on with that close. So yeah, join over on Rumble. No reason. We're not switching from YouTube, nothing like that. It's just to add you guys some value and do something that's good for our community. spread ourselves out a little bit just in case something were to ever happen. Like YouTube goes down for a day. Okay, we have Rumble. And if you have notifications on and you see YouTube's not on, always check Rumble. We post the meeting afterwards for days I can't make it. Yeah, so I do let them post over on Rumble. I do notice people are watching them from Rumble, so there are people from Rumble actually watching it. So if you miss out in the closing stream, you can actually go over into it later on as long as you're a part of Rumble. Yep. Yeah, yeah. I usually let all my. I don't edit any live streams, anything like that. You can see it raw. You can tell. You can probably go back and find times where I got something wrong, and that's perfectly fine with me, right? I want you to see that even people like me have traded for a long time. Like we get it wrong too sometimes. We do the wrong kind of position. We do the wrong this, but you'll also see how we're looking at things overall and see, wow, okay. A lot of the time, they might not be in the move the very first time, but a lot of the time we're in the move the second one. This would be a second one. And it was outside of a monthly move, which is very nice. Hey, thank you guys for giving some likes here. Apple's starting to move. Is it moving down, though? That's what I'm worried about with Apple. Okay, it's holding that shelf. That's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. Ooh, taking back these levels would be taking back 220 would be nice. Let me know if Apple takes back 220 pretty confidently. Maybe we'll look at that for the closing stream later on. Wow, that would be very good. Man, this would be crazy to just squeeze through GDP. GDP rates coming out. Okay. Now, one thing we're going to keep our eye on for most of the day, and this is something we will bring up this afternoon, is the fact that the 30-minute is dropping down to even lower levels. This is really starting to lean towards squeeze. The 2 hour is starting to drop down too. If we start to violate these things first on the MACD and the RSI, man, this is really looking like we're going to that 200 at this point, unless we see some weakness. So we will be paying attention to if the volatility does tag that 200. We'll look for signals around there. But right now, you are really starting to wipe out these signals. Once again, remember, volatility is very nice because if you're seeing a signal and that starts to get wiped out, that's a lot of like what happens before a squeeze. We are still aware that this can become more complex, but right now, I think building up to something like 585 and then seeing a pullback to retest that monthly move looks freaking fantastic. Is it too late for entry on small pullback? It depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? If you're trying to achieve some quick money for this week, this might be a little bit more complex. But if you're saying, hey, I'm a little late, but maybe you're not late, right? People are just now starting to shift, but maybe you're thinking, okay, so what if I'm taking a week out? Well, this might be a little tough. What if I'm taking a day out? Well, this is going to be pretty damn tough, I think. I think if you're taking a day out, you're just going, okay, I'm taking this real late, and then I'm hoping it gets the weekly move. Okay, so what if I'm saying 2 months out? So here, I'll ask you a question, Remy. What is your assessment on the SPY for the type of trade that you want to take? Is your assessment, hey, the 30-minute needs to pull back and then we'll see that turn up and I can catch a move to that weekly move? Maybe I'm waiting for that small pullback. Or is your assessment, I believe that the SPY by May will see a move to 600 with the signals that we have right now and the daily just confirmed up? Do you see how two people can trade the same thing in a totally different way? Well, then I would say, okay, what if I look at the 2 month options? I just buy maybe even a couple contracts. Maybe I don't have that much, but maybe I can buy a couple. Maybe instead of 600, if I think the move is going to come quicker, I can take 605, maybe 610, maybe the all-time high, right? If I don't have that much liquidity in my bank account, right? You got to have those decisions. Those decisions are to be made. And if you have 2 months out, hey, it's not going to lose value rapidly. If I say 600 has to get hit in a week, oh, well, then I need that to hit there in a week, right? But if I say 2 months, well, then this can do this, can do this, can do this. And then by the end of May would technically be 2 months. Almost the end of May would be 2 months. And look at this, by May 17th, May 20th, hey, you're at that 600 level, right? Maybe it doesn't do that. I think it's more likely to see this, and then this. Hey, guess what? That's just mid-April. What did I target? Right? What does my expiration say that I believe is going to happen with the SPY? This right here. I think that's going to happen with the SPY. We could end up at 600 towards mid-April. I think we got to get through some key levels. I'm going to watch it throughout, right? I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to do that and then have that assessment and then just ignore everything. No, I'm going to be watching. Willow! Kick the cat. To participate on the squeeze. Okay, so there you go. So there's your answer. So if you're looking for, I want you to look at squeezes, right? Not this, maybe not even this, right? We could be in something like this, but notice that if you're saying we are in this moment, because that's a similar drop, and you're saying, okay, 600, well, that's just where the breakdown area was. Where was our breakdown area here? That would be about 556. How long did it take for us to get there in overall a mega squeeze here from the low? How long did it take us to get there? Well, it took you, and then you sat there. Look how you sat there. So we're going to measure that too. But it took about 30 days sitting there, and then you saw a drop. You did see moves above that were potential take profits at the high, right? So from the low to there, technically, it only took a couple of weeks, maybe 3, right? But I want to have a lot of time in case it's going to be very different this time. It doesn't have to just go boom. It could go, right? What if it doesn't do that at all? What if we see a big confirmation down and I have to manage a trade? That's why I like to get in early, because usually if I'm in early based on a 2-hour signal or something, management of the trade just goes, okay, you get to make money. You're not going to lose money on the play. SMH, yeah. SMH, yeah. Yeah, I have a fun account of it. What's going on over there, Willow? I've been really focusing, so I haven't pulled that up in a minute. I think I just have a wolf play over there. Yeah, Remy, really think about your goal for it and make a plan. And if that plan doesn't happen, just know this, it's not the end of the world, right? If you miss out on a move, you miss out on a move. It's okay. There will be another trade set up in the next probably 2 weeks. But if you're thinking of those kinds of decisions, I totally understand being like, I want to get a good position. It might mean maybe I don't use maybe I don't use a huge amount. That way, at least if the squeeze would randomly happen, I'm in it. But maybe I just say, okay, I'm comfortable with this kind of price. If it got cheaper from there, I'd be more comfortable, right? Then you go, okay, a 30-minute pullback happened and it curled up. All right, let's see what happens here, right? And then I can add to that and have that little based out price. They got some kind of contract thing for the NCAA basketball tournament. It's weird as hell, but I'm thinking it's their way of getting in on sports betting. Probably. Everyone wants to get in on sports betting. And so right when everyone starts to get in on sports betting, I think sports betting will see a dramatic drop in the next, I would say 5 years. I give it 5 years. SMH, let's go look at this. Right now, what we want to see is behaving a lot like Nvidia. 2-hour curling up. Hey, can all this produce upside? Yeah, you have great structure here and great liquidity gained in this area, right? Boom, boom, boom. Wow, what a breakout. We can always see those retests. I'll try to give it a look later today. We can always get those retests, but look at the daily. This is where squeezes could happen, right? This is probably already getting towards unexpected. I would read into Nvidia. If SMH is seeing a move that's taking me, if I'm part of Patreon and I have a weekly expected move for Nvidia and I see that SMH is going up and Nvidia is going outside of that weekly expected move, I would assume SMH is outside of a weekly expected move. That being said, does that mean it's bearish? Look at the structure, man. The structure looks good. If we do not lose that weekly expected move again, I'm pretty freaking happy with it. Same goes for Nvidia. Can Nvidia break through this? If it does, it's very likely to see resistance up in these areas. But if it can break through, see another gap or something like that, we just start to go. Pretty happy with it. Do you see how we're on the verge of a squeeze, and squeeze looks high potential for a lot of things, even things that saw the 2-hour signal early, saw the good price action and pulled back, right? We see all that. So we know the squeeze is high potential right now, but we're aware of how it can go wrong, right? If this 2-hour just flashes down, you start to lose these levels, hey, you're probably going deeper. You might even fill that gap. Same thing would go for SMH. Shaking my head, you know? but the 2-hour just confirmed up for the spot. I really like this. I can't talk too badly about it besides light volume, but you know what happens? Squeezes happen on light volume a lot of the time. You see like one volume push, and then it's just light, 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 light. I think AVGO is in kind of a different realm right now because it's been very complex in here. Very complex in here. So this has been this is a huge build of liquidity though. Okay, so you have to understand, if this breaks to the upside, this could potentially move like, I almost want to throw out 15, 10%. This could be one big move all the way back up to these areas, all the way back up to the breakdown area, which would be something around that 210.65, right? This could be a big move. But just because I say that's upside, guess what? That goes the same for the downside. That downside could potentially take you even a bigger move, right? You could cut that low. So this is where it's like, hey, the risk is there. You're in a range. Can I break to the upside and hold it? Look at all the wicks. You see something other than a wick? I think that this thing could get to 210. I would say, keep it gentle, keep it safe, right? There's some improbabilities where if you show up to a statistics class early on, they're going to ask a question. And they're going to ask a question and say, give me a range. And then people will be like, okay, so they'll say this. If I'm saying I only want to take a short option or something like that, well, pick a number between, say, 1 and 100, or pick a range between 1 and 100. Well, if I pick a short option, that might be me picking like, okay, I pick 60 through 70, right? And then the teacher always asks you, and he says, why'd you pick such a low number? Why didn't you pick a bigger range? Because immediately, if you pick a bigger range, you immediately increase your odds of being right. He goes, there was no limit. You could have said 1 to 99, right? But you're trying to assume some risk. You're playing that game of what kind of risk do I want to assume? Do I want an extreme amount of risk, or do I want a manageable amount of risk? And so what I like to do is put myself in about a 60% range, right? 68% is a lot of the time what I say. I like to put my odds in that 60-40, 60 to 60, 60 to 70 to 40-30 as far as risk to reward. That's what I like. A lot of people do the 3-to-1 method, right? But that's a way to look at time as well. I can be like, yeah, this is going to happen by tomorrow, or I can put myself at a better odd and say this will be happening in the next month or two, right? It's just how quick can it happen at that point in the shorter time frames. If it breaks to the downside, it might take a long time to get there. But hey, that's what they talked about in the first day of my probability and statistics class. And I still remember it to this day because I understand it very well. We are inclined as humans to really try to get something right fast. That's the whole looking, that almost instant gratification kind of thing. I want this signal to produce now. I'm seeing these signals now, so it has to happen. It has to happen quickly. But by extending those out, I make my odds a lot better, or I mitigate my risk a lot better. It's very cool. Weekly Spire push through it. I think I would like to push through it. Personally, I would like to push through. I think that getting to here is very possible, 585. I think this would be the best way for the market to squeeze is you do this, you see some sporadic action maybe in here for a bit, and then you see that curl to the upside by the end of the week. That's the best way to squeeze right now, I think. Because if you do this, and then you just curl down, you never come back, that's going to look like, downside into the end of the month, which means, Monday could be a massive thing. I don't think that's how this wants to move as of right now, but we'll see. All right, my money is still pointing in the upward direction. I'm still holding. And Amazon is literally like at the weekly move, but I'm still holding. I'm chilling. I know that a retest of 198.50 would make a lot of sense. The goal isn't to make money really fast right now. The goal is to make a good amount of money during a squeeze right now for me. So yeah, weekly expectum is where you would expect a pullback, and a pullback would be pretty necessary. I mean, you see how structure would build you up, right? Maybe use this. We go up to here, fill that gap, go a little higher, see the resistance come in at these type of levels. Okay, and then we go ba ba ba. That'd be a crazy way to move higher, but I think you're going to see some craziness towards the end of the week, and then we're going to get a decision. And I think right now that decision says, as of the price action we have now, the decision says squeeze. If that changes, I'll change. I know a 30-minute pullback can happen here. Do I care? No. Maybe they're just going to dip in and grab that liquidity to fake people out because people are really towards the call side with that. This behavior, though, looks very, I bet it's very light volume. Yeah, see one big spike and then just completely down. Very fast. Could become algorithmic. Looks like it might already be there. Looks like VIX is down 5.5% daily, 4 hour and 30-minute, looking like going lower too. Yes, just mainly watching the 2-hour signals from volatility. I've been clicking kind of back and forth between it. 30-minute gives no inclination of turning around besides extremely oversold. Usually VIX extremely oversold. Hey, in these kinds of conditions, starting to violate divergence and stuff like that, squeezes happen on that type of behavior, man. I just know that the daily 200 is below you at a reading of about 1730. 1730 is where I'll watch for a little reaction. But 1730 could be tagged once we tag up here. So maybe that's the next opportunity if I missed out. Maybe it's not. Maybe it turns down more aggressively. We wouldn't like to see that, would we? I would like to see it just go. That'd be insane, but it'd be awesome. Take everyone off guard. Everyone got super bearish like it was a 2020 crash. Like it's like, I know measles is increasing a little bit, guys, but it ain't COVID. There isn't the uncertainty too much. But people are very certain that it's a 2020 crash right now, and I'm like, we have opposite signals. A sell in early April would be crazy. This is kind of tracking with seasonality. Weirdly enough, if anyone's watched a video with seasonality, I don't focus on it. I don't think it's the most helpful. It just makes me feel good. But it looks a lot like seasonality right now, which means maybe a slight up and sideways for a little bit longer before we see a boom. Up and sideways would be fine for this week. All right, let's go click through and see if we're hitting some moves right now. Let's see. Sorry about that. She was making sure I was doing my jury duty stuff. If you guys didn't know, I might have jury duty. Not excited about it at all. If I do get jury duty, I will let you know. But I'm probably going to be a douche there because I do not want to do it. And I'll just be like, look, whatever the fuck everyone votes. If I'm the deciding vote, I'm going with everyone, so it's over. I respect it a lot, but I'm like, my work is really important to me right now. Usually it's not a serious, I've never gone and it's like a serious case. Usually it's someone faking a neck injury trying to get money. So here come that squeeze. Well, we are potentially starting now. I just ignore jury duty. Well, they can like what? They fine you or they just reschedule you again and again and again. Or they sometimes, in serious cases, they'll like, I think if you're already, serious cases, I've heard people like spend a night in jail or something. I could educate a lot of people on the jury. Bro, tell me right now that lawyers take people that they think will do a great job for both sides. No, it is probably the most, usually if it's a serious case, usually I think it's a little bit polarized, but unless it's in one direction, and if you're the guy not in that direction and you're for the other side, God damn. I feel like you'd be in an argument every 10 minutes. Well, I don't know. Maybe we have a different thing in the state. You have annuity and you need cash now. Sadly, a lot of them probably aren't investors. I would ignore jury duty. Well, I mean, I gave them a reason. I'm always honest, but I was like, I gave you guys a reason. I used my baby girl as a reason. Give them a reason not to pick me. Maybe that's enough. I'll still call, see if I'm necessary to show up. Dollar's still increasing, which we said, the dollar and the market have been kind of moving in tandem. So the only thing is, with the dollar increasing, we wanted to see if yields would increase with it. They are. So a move to 4.5 would be interesting, which means oil potentially. What's this guy doing? So oil potentially seeing good things as well. Looking for a potential reaction to about 70.28 is where I'd look for. Looks good. Let's inflate these prices of these stocks, huh? They never pick you, Terrence. You're lucky. Tell them you're a Jehovah's Witness. I'm one of the chosen ones. Okay, Q's not there yet. IWM not there yet. DIA, nice gap for DIA above the monthly. TLT, big spike down. Big spike down. I wonder if that's like a risk thing. Tesla, worrisome in these areas, right? Just for the week. Just for the week. This is when pullbacks happen. Amazon still hasn't fully gotten there. Almost tagged it. Nvidia hasn't gotten there. AMD is there, man. Meta sitting there in a good spot. Then Microsoft not there, still in the middle. Google trying to get there. AMC not even close. GME not even close. Huge amount of implied volatility for GME. DJT curling up by the center line on the 2-hour. SoFi is in the monthly expected move in an area where a pullback would be very justified. Palantir and gold giving it up. We'll see if that can get its next move down. If gold's going to come down and JP Morgan's going to get this right, this might start pretty quick. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Looks interesting. I'm not inclined to take some profit yet. I think we got this decent move coming, even if we see downside a little bit. All right, guys, it is now about 10:30, so I do have to hop off, but I will be back on Rumble later today. Remember, if you need to join the Rumble, join it right now because we will be live later today. The link is now posted in the chat there. You can click on that link. That's going to take you directly to our money-making market account over on Rumble. We will be doing a closing stream later today, just adding some value to the community. So thank you guys so much for joining over there. You guys have made it a great experience. We do have potentially hundreds of people coming by every single day. So make sure to join us over there. It's a good time. Things are a little quiet, right? Because we don't have a ton of people coming in from YouTube that maybe aren't even subscribed, right? So it's a little bit more exclusive there. It would be nice to see you there, Jonna. I will see you there later today. What time does the closing stream start? You will see. I will make it so the stream starts up maybe around 2 hours before. Let that go for 15 minutes so you guys can come over and join, and then we'll be live most likely an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes before the close. So it's not just the closing hour. We're going to give you a little 30-minute potential window there where we can read into some things before, the big money moves do happen, because the end of the day does have 30 to 40% of the liquidity comes in right at the end of the day in that last hour. So we'll be watching. See you guys later. All right. Peace out.